A Texas officer found them alone, but the real story was still hiding in the forest. Welcome to the channel where true stories come to life. If you're someone who believes that even the quietest moments can carry the loudest truths, you're in the right place. Before we dive into today's powerful tale, tell us in the comments, where in the world are you watching from? We love hearing your stories too. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell, because tomorrow's episode holds something truly unforgettable. One story, one voice, one moment that could change everything. Let's begin. The road was quiet that morning, as if the world hadn't quite woken up yet. Sergeant Logan Pierce had driven this highway in central Texas more times than he could count. But today something felt different. Not because of the weather. The sun was just beginning to rise, casting long golden streaks across the pavement. Not because of the traffic. There was none. But because of the two tiny figures standing just off the shoulder, completely still. Completely out of place. Logan slowed his patrol SUV and squinted through the windshield. There they were. Two little girls standing barefoot in the early light. No adult in sight, no vehicle nearby, just the two of them. He rolled down his window. "Hey there," he said gently. "Are you girls okay?" They didn't respond. They just stared at him, wide-eyed, silent, unblinking. Logan stepped out of the vehicle slowly, his years of training whispering caution into the back of his mind. Something wasn't right. These weren't lost kids wandering around aimlessly. These girls were standing still, waiting, almost like they had been expecting someone. He crouched down to their level. "Where are your parents?" he asked. One of the girls stepped forward. She wore a faded purple dress and blue striped tights. Her face was smudged with dirt, and her lips trembled like she wanted to say something but couldn't find the words. Instead, she reached out and touched the badge on Logan's chest. Gently, curiously. The other girl stood just behind her, in brown overalls and a dusty cream-colored shirt. They both looked about 5 years old, maybe 40 inches tall. No, taller than Logan's knee. "Do you need help?" he asked again. This time, both girls nodded, slowly at the same time. Then, in perfect synchrony, they turned and pointed, not toward the road or the nearby houses, but back down the highway. Back toward the thick patch of woods that bordered the far end of the county line. Logan's brows furrowed. "Did you come from there?" The girl in the overalls nodded. He stood and scanned the horizon. There were no other cars, no sounds but the occasional rustle of wind through the tall grass. Just these two little girls holding hands like their lives depended on it. "All right," Logan said softly. "Let's get you somewhere safe." He opened the back door of his patrol vehicle. The girls hesitated for a moment, looking at each other, then climbed in silently, sitting so close their shoulders touched. Logan handed them 2 small bottles of water from the glove compartment. Still, neither said a word. As he pulled away from the shoulder and began to drive in the direction they'd pointed, Logan picked up his radio and spoke into it. "This is Sergeant Pierce. I've located 2 unattended minors on Highway 17. Approximately 5 years old. No adults in sight. I'm following their lead, heading toward the woods. We'll keep you updated." But in his gut, Logan already knew. This wasn't going to be just a welfare check. The patrol car crawled slowly down the stretch of Highway 17, tires crunching softly over loose gravel. Sergeant Logan Pierce glanced in the rearview mirror. The 2 girls were still huddled close together, holding hands, eyes locked on the tree line ahead as if it were calling to them. No words, just silence and that eerie kind of stillness that children shouldn't carry. But somehow, these two did. A few miles in, Logan noticed something unusual. There, fluttering from a low-hanging branch, was a piece of fabric, faded pink, torn and caught in the wind. He slowed the car to a stop. "Stay inside," he told the girls gently. "I'll be right back." He stepped out, the air cooler now, the morning light slicing through the trees in long golden beams. He plucked the fabric from the branch. It was a ribbon, child-sized, the kind used to tie back ponytails. His stomach turned. A few feet off the road, something else caught his eye. A small stuffed animal. What used to be a bear, maybe. It was missing one ear and covered in dirt, lying face down beside a clump of dry weeds. Next to it, a tiny canvas, shoe half buried in the soil. Logan's pulse quickened. He turned to head back to the car, but the girls were no longer inside. Panic surged. He darted around the vehicle and spotted them standing just beyond the shoulder, both facing the forest. One of them, Maya, the one in the purple dress, was pointing. "Wait!" Logan called out, but they weren't moving. They stood still like statues, fixated on something just beyond the brush. Logan followed their gaze and saw it. A narrow footpath, almost invisible from the road, carved into the woods like a secret. Logan took a steadying breath. He crouched beside them. "Okay, listen. I'm going with you, but you stay right next to me. Got it?" They nodded. He grabbed the flashlight from his belt, clicked it on, and stepped into the undergrowth. Branches cracked underfoot. Leaves brushed his arms. The girls followed close, their small footsteps nearly silent against the forest floor. The deeper they went, the heavier the air seemed to get. Birds scattered overhead. Somewhere nearby, a crow cawed once. Then silence. Then came the sound. A faint whimper. High-pitched, weak, barely audible, like it was wrapped in fog. Logan froze mid-step. "Did you hear that?" he whispered. The girls nodded, wide-eyed, clinging to each other now. Logan knelt, scooped up the smaller girl, Sierra, and took Maya's hand in his own. "Hold tight," he said. "We're almost there." 5 minutes deeper into the woods, the trees opened up to reveal something that didn't belong. An old shack, leaning, rotting, forgotten. Its windows were cracked. A rusted lock hung loosely from the doorframe. Then the sound came again, a baby's cry. This wasn't just some abandoned hideout. This was where something terrible had happened, and someone inside still needed saving. Sergeant Logan Pierce kept one hand on his holster, the other clutching Maya's tiny fingers, as they stood just yards away from the shack. It looked like it had been swallowed by the woods, its wood panels dark with rot, the roof partially caved in, vines coiled around the corners like the forest was trying to erase it from memory. But the sound, it was unmistakable now. A baby's cry, weak, strained, fading. Logan knelt down to the girls. "I need you both to stay right here," he said, steady but soft. "Don't move. Don't follow me. Okay?" They didn't speak. They just stared, silent, trembling, but they stayed. Logan crept toward the shack, his boots crunching over broken twigs. He pushed the door slowly. It gave way with a creak so sharp it made his skin crawl. Inside, the air was musty, like mold, old clothes, and something far worse. His flashlight beam cut through the dim interior. The first thing he saw was a stained mattress on the floor. No sheets, just springs poking out from the sides. Scattered toys, plastic dolls, a cracked rattle, a toy truck, lay abandoned in a corner. Empty food cans and rotted fruit sat in a bucket nearby. A dirty towel was pinned up like a curtain. Then he saw her. A baby, no more than 6 months old, was lying on a thin blanket near the wall. Her cheeks were sunken, her onesie stained. Her tiny fist barely moved as she whimpered, her cry so hoarse it sounded like a whisper. Logan rushed forward, scooping the baby into his arms. She was cold, her body limp, her eyelids fluttered like she didn't have the strength to keep them open. "Hang in there," he whispered, voice cracking. "You're okay now." He cradled her close and stepped outside. The twins hadn't moved, but when they saw the baby in his arms, their faces broke. Maya fell to her knees and began to sob. Sierra walked slowly forward and reached up to touch the baby's hand. "She's our baby sister," Sierra whispered. "Her name is Eliana." Logan swallowed hard, holding back his own emotions. "You did good," he said softly. "You helped save her." He grabbed his radio. "Dispatch, this is Sergeant Pierce. I have 3 minors, 1 infant in severe condition. I need EMS at my location immediately. Sending coordinates now. This is a critical rescue." Sirens began to wail in the distance, faint but growing louder. Logan sat on the ground, holding Eliana tight against his chest, wrapping her in his jacket. Maya and Sierra sat on either side of him, leaning into him, shivering, but safe. Red and blue lights began to paint the trees. 2 patrol cars, 1 ambulance. EMTs rushed out carrying blankets, medical bags, oxygen. Logan stood and handed the baby to a medic. "She's freezing," he said. "No food, no warmth, please. Hurry." As the medic carried Eliana to the ambulance, Maya looked up at Logan with wide, tear-filled eyes. "You came for us," she said. Logan nodded. "And I'm not going anywhere." The ambulance doors closed with a heavy thud as baby Eliana was rushed away. Sergeant Logan Pierce stood frozen for a moment, his hands still trembling from the weight he'd just carried, 6 pounds of life barely hanging on. The medics had confirmed what he feared: severe dehydration, low body temperature, and signs of prolonged neglect. Beside him, Maya and Sierra sat wrapped in blankets, sipping apple juice slowly, their eyes never leaving the road, the ambulance. Had disappeared down. Logan crouched beside them again. "You did something really brave," he said gently. "You found help when it mattered most." Maya didn't respond right away. Instead, she dug into the tiny pocket of her dirt-stained dress and pulled out something folded and torn, a photo. She handed it to Logan with both hands like it was sacred. He opened it carefully. It showed 3 little girls, Maya and Sierra, clearly younger, holding a newborn baby between them. Behind them stood a young woman, barely in her 20s, with long curly hair and a tired but warm smile. Their mother. "Where is she?" Logan asked softly. Maya stared at the ground. Sierra leaned closer and whispered, "A man took her." Logan's heart sank. "What man?" "He used to yell at her," Maya said. "He brought food sometimes, but then he got mad. Real mad. One night, Mama told us to run, to find someone with a badge." Logan's throat tightened. "Did she say why?" "She said he was going to hurt the baby." The weight of it landed hard. This wasn't just neglect. This wasn't a case of a struggling parent. This was something darker, more dangerous. Logan stood up and walked toward the edge of the woods, motioning to the detectives who had just arrived. "We've got reason to believe there's a man involved in this, possibly armed, abusive, and still out there. The mother might be in danger, or worse." The lead detective nodded. "We'll set up a search perimeter, canvass the area, check traffic cams from the last 48 hours. If he's on foot or used a vehicle, we'll find him." Back at the shack, the forensics team had begun cataloging everything. The stained mattress, the ropes under the bed, the opened cans of food, and, perhaps most disturbing, a spiral notebook filled with erratic scribbles. Names, dates, notes that made no sense but hinted at something unhinged. One page had only 4 words repeated over and over. "They belong to me." Logan snapped a photo of the page. Later at the hospital, he stayed with the girls during their medical evaluation. Minor bruises, scratches, malnourishment. But they were safe now. Alive. A social worker eventually arrived with placement paperwork in hand. But when she knelt to speak with them, Maya reached out and clung tightly to Logan's arm. "Can you stay?" she asked, eyes pleading. "Don't leave us." He didn't answer right away. Instead, he looked the woman in the eye and said, "Just give us a few more minutes." Because in that moment, he knew they weren't just witnesses. They weren't just victims. They were his girls now. 6 months passed. The shack was long gone, condemned, demolished, its foundation buried under state orders. But for Sergeant Logan Pierce, it was a place forever burned into memory. Because that's where everything changed. That's where he found them, or maybe where they found him. Today, his home didn't smell like old wood and rust. It smelled like crayons, waffles, and baby lotion. His living room floor was covered in drawings, scribbles of houses, trees, suns with faces. In the middle of it all sat Maya, Sierra, and baby Eliana. Healthy, safe, and his daughters now in every way that mattered. Adoption day had been emotional. He hadn't planned for it. At first, it was just a case, a rescue, a duty. But every late-night visit, every check-in at the hospital, every bedtime story when the social worker was too tired to stay, Something deeper had taken root. Love didn't ask for permission. It just grew. Logan walked in carrying a tray of snacks, peanut butter crackers and apple slices. Maya ran to greet him, wrapping her arms around his waist. "You came back," she laughed. "Of course I did," he smiled. "Didn't I promise?" Sierra sat quietly in the corner, drawing Eliana with a big red heart around her. The baby giggled. In her bouncer, drool soaking her bib, legs kicking wildly in delight. Logan sat down beside them, letting the girls climb into his lap. He looked around the room, not at the mess, but at the peace. "You know what today is?" he asked. "Saturday," Maya shouted. "Nope," he grinned. "It's safe day." "What's that?" "It's the day I found you," Logan said softly. "The day everything changed." Maya leaned her head on his shoulder. "Will we ever be scared again?" He paused, not because he didn't have the answer, but because he knew how much that question weighed on her heart. "Not while I'm here," he said. "Not ever again." Later that evening, after the girls were asleep and Eliana was tucked in tight, Logan stepped outside onto the porch. The Texas sky stretched wide above him, stars flickering like watchful eyes. He pulled out the worn photo Maya had given him, the one of their mother. Her name was still on the missing persons list. No body, no sightings, no answers. But Logan hadn't stopped looking. He'd given the girls his name. But he'd also promised them this: if there's even the smallest chance their mother was still alive, he'd find her. Until then, they had him. Inside, a soft cry echoed from the baby monitor. "Eliana." He smiled, turned, and headed back in. Because now he wasn't just a cop. He was a father. If this story touched your heart the way it touched ours, we'd love to hear from you. Tell us, what part of this journey stayed with you the most? Was it the moment the twins reached out for help, the discovery in the woods, or the final choice that turned a police officer into a father? Sometimes it only takes one act of courage to change 3 lives forever. Have you ever witnessed or experienced something that reminded you of this kind of quiet strength, resilience, or unexpected love? Share your thoughts, your stories, your emotions. This is a space where your voice matters. We read every comment, and we're building a community of people who believe in the power of compassion and truth. Let us know in the comments where in the world you're watching from, and what you felt when you heard this story. Was it sadness, hope, or something in between? And don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications, because tomorrow we'll be back with another true story that might just change the way you see the world. Stay kind, stay brave, and thank you for being here.